Hi everyone, thanks for visiting my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Carol, the Thrifty Chic Housewife. If you enjoy the content you find here, please consider subscribing, like and share my videos, and follow me on social media. I will leave all the links in the description box below. So for those of you who have been following me on social media, you know that I have recently got back into sourdough and I started a new starter, and I've been working on it for the last week and a half or so, 2 weeks. Somewhere around in there, and you know I've been baking some beautiful bread with it. So I wanted to bring you along and show you just a basic sourdough bread recipe. It works really well for a new starter that may not quite be up to par just yet, but it works really well. This bread is super simple to make. It has great flavor and a beautiful texture and crumb to it. So I've just been loving it. It makes amazing toast. So just a little word on sourdough. I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination. I have done sourdough in the past and got tired of babysitting it, but thought I would give it another try, and I've learned some new ways and techniques of maintaining it and finding that you don't have to babysit it every day if you don't bake a lot. So anyway, I did want to share though that with this time I use, instead of just using all-purpose flour to get it going, I did use my King Arthur sprouted wheat flour, and it did an amazing job of getting it going. So for those of you who are interested in getting started with sourdough but have struggled in the past, you might want to give a whole grain flour a try to get it going. I found that that made a huge difference for me. If you do follow me on social media, a couple days ago I posted a picture where my starter was so active and bubbly that it bubbled out and oozed out over the top of my jar overnight. So the whole grain flour that I used in the beginning really helped get it going. I did follow King Arthur's method of starting a sourdough starter, so for those of you who are interested, I will link that, leave that link for you in the description box below. And also this recipe that I'm sharing today is also from the King Arthur website. I love their website. I love their company in general. They are an employee-owned company. I'm not getting paid to talk about them, but I just love their products. I love the fact that you can chat with someone if you run into problems. They're employee-owned and they're just a great company. So anyway, let's get started. Okay guys, here we go. I brought you in a little bit closer so you can see what's going on in my bowl. I have 2 cups of ripe or fed starter in my bowl, and to that we are going to add 1.5 teaspoons of instant yeast, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 1.5 teaspoons of granulated sugar, 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour, and 1/2 cup of lukewarm water. And yes, this sourdough bread does take a little bit of yeast to help it along. I know all recipes don't, but this one does. So we're going to go ahead and get that started. And I just like to get the flour kind of wet. I use my dough hook. I get the flour kind of wet. And then I turn my speed up to a medium-low speed just to get everything incorporated and get it to come together in a nice ball. Once it starts to come together, once you have a nice ball and it starts cleaning the sides of your bowl, then I turn the speed down to low, and we're going to knead it for about 7 minutes on our mixer. If you're kneading it by hand, you're going to knead it for 15 to 20 minutes. If you're using a bread machine, it's 20 to 30 minutes. So we're going to just let our dough go for about 7 to 10 minutes, and then I will bring you back and we'll get it ready to rise. Okay guys, our dough has been kneading for about 7, almost 8 minutes now. What you want is you want just a nice elastic dough. So when you feel it, once I get it out of here, it should just be nice and elastic. It'll be slightly sticky, slightly tacky, but it doesn't really stick to your fingers. It's just tacky. So what I do then is I just kind of shape it into a ball, and then I put it into a Let me move this. Then I put it into a lightly greased bowl. All I did was spray it with cooking spray. And then just flip it over so it's coated on all sides. And then take a piece of plastic wrap that's also been sprayed, and we're going to cover it and we're going to let it raise in a warm spot in your kitchen for 45 to 60 minutes. It's going to be puffy, but not necessarily doubled in bulk. So you're just looking for it to start getting nice and puffy. Once that's done, then we're going to shape it and let it rise for a second time. Okay guys, our dough is nice and puffy, so we are ready to shape it into a log to put into our bread pan. So what I do is I just punch it down, and then I just lightly flour my surface, and then I turn it out onto my countertop. And we're just going to shape it into a log. Kind of tuck your ends under. I know everyone has a different technique for shaping their bread, but that's kind of how I do it. And then I roll it a little bit to get it as smooth as possible. If you have any wrinkles in your dough, they will stay there. They won't rise out of it. So you want to get it as smooth as you can. My bread pan, I just lightly sprayed it with some cooking spray, and then we're just going to put them in there. Tuck him in real good. And then cover it with our plastic wrap again, and we're going to let it raise, I guess rise is the correct term. We're going to let it rise again in a warm spot for 45 to 60 minutes. What you want to happen is you want your bread to come up to about 1 inch above the bread pan. So once you start getting close, and you're going to want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. You can overproof your dough, and if you do overproof it, it will deflate and you won't have a pretty loaf. So it's important to keep an eye on it. You just want it to crust above the top of your pan by about 1 inch, and then it's ready to go into the oven. So like I said, about 45 minute mark or so, I would take a look at it and then start preheating your oven, and by the time your oven's preheated, it should be ready to put in. Okay guys, my bread has crusted about 1 inch above the rim of my pan, so we're going to carefully take off our plastic wrap. And my oven is preheated to 350 degrees. So I'm going to pop him in the oven for about 40 to 50 minutes. Mine's been taking right around 45. And also, you'll notice if you look at the King Arthur website, their rise times are different, a little different than mine. Mine has been rising a little bit quicker than what they suggest on their website. So just be aware of that. It's just going to depend on how active your starter is. Mine's pretty active, so it hasn't been taking nearly as long for my rise time. But we're ready to go into the oven. Okay guys, our bread is all done. Look at this beautiful golden loaf. Absolutely gorgeous. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to let it rest for just a few minutes. I'm also going to coat the top of it with some melted butter and let it sit and let it cool for just a little bit, and then I will bring you back and show you how beautiful the inside is. Okay guys, my bread is cooled for just a few minutes, and I did, like I said, I buttered the top of it. Isn't that just beautiful? Golden color, and the inside is just perfection. So I did do a few slices for you so you can see up close. Beautiful texture, has a beautiful crumb to it. It's a perfect sandwich bread, but I'm telling you, it makes amazing toast. A little bit, a bit of a crusty crust on the outside, and then it's soft and chewy on the inside. So good. So let's butter it up a little bit, and then we'll give it a taste and see how we did. There is nothing like fresh baked bread, fresh from the oven. Warm, buttery. Like I said, the crust is a little bit crusty and the inside is chewy. That just has a beautiful mild sourdough flavor to it. is just fantastic. I've made several loaves of it with my sourdough starter, and we are loving it, and we've been going through it really quickly. It's so good. So I hope you'll give it a try. This recipe is so easy, and like I said, I will link it for you. It's from the King Arthur website. It's just basic sourdough bread. Super simple, really versatile, and so delicious. If you have any questions or comments for me, please leave them in the comment section. Like, subscribe, and share, and I will see you next time. Have a great day, guys.